So we are going to be making some op art. The op art stands for optical illusion. The first thing we need to do is to make a point somewhere on our paper that's not all the way in the far corner, off to the side, towards the corner, totally fine. And then you're going to use a ruler and you're going to draw straight lines from that point to the edge of the paper. This is technically a one-point perspective drawing, but because we are using that one point and drawing lines out. The number of lines that you need to draw is an even number. So 8, 10, 12, or 14. I would not do any less than 8, and I would not do any more than 14. Now here's what happens when I drew an odd number. It doesn't work. So between every other space, you're going to make these bumps, or what I'm going to call them hills. And you got to go from one end all the way to the other and make sure that it is a nice bump and not a cliff. Okay, you want to make sure that it really curves from one end of that space all the way to the other. So bump, bump, bump every other space. And if you have drawn an even number of lines, then you will be able to put your bumps in every other space. If you cannot do every other space, then you did not draw an even number of lines. So just keep making those bumps until the bumps fall off the paper. And you also want them to get a little further away from each other, the further out from the center. So just like that, and just a little bit. Now you're going to make valleys. So now we're going to be making valleys from each hill. Okay, each bump is going to have a U, or each hill is going to have a valley. So the opposite direction every other space. And that's going to create this undulating appearance. That's what's going to create the optical illusion. Filling in each space that is left with a U, or with the opposite direction curved line. All right, then it's time to color in. First, I want you to go to the markers and we're going to just experiment. So I really want to use blue, but I don't know what other color I want to use. So I'm going to see which colors have a lot of contrast, which colors really stand out next to each other. So there's blue and orange, and since I really want blue, I'm just going to test blue with several different colors. So I like blue and I like purple, but man, blue and purple, they don't have a lot of contrast. They're pretty similar. So blue and orange have a lot of contrast. Blue and purple do not have a lot of contrast. So I really wanted to experiment and see how that looked next to each other. I'm going to try blue and teal. Again, blue and teal do not have a lot of contrast. So I'm not going to do blue and teal. Let's see, let me try one more. Blue and, what color do I want to use? Maybe orange, or maybe yellow, maybe green, maybe yellow, okay. Yeah, so I'm going to do yellow. Yellow has okay contrast, but I don't feel like it pops quite like orange does, which makes sense because they're opposites on the color wheel. So now I'm going to mark out every other bump in the line, okay? So I'm only looking at the hills, or the bumps, whichever you want to call them. And as I'm moving up that line, I put a little tiny X to map out where I'm going to draw my darker color. That's going to help me see the pattern a little better and not make a mistake. Because at this point, if I make a mistake, I have to start all over. So I put an X in the places that I want to draw my first color. And my first color should be the darker color, so that will cover up that X. When I'm coloring in, I want to make sure that I'm really using good craftsmanship and I'm coloring in neatly and completely. To do that, I go around the side and then I color in using side-to-side motions. I don't use round scribbly lines. I always use these side-to-side lines. They could be horizontal or vertical. And then I fill in from those outlines that I do originally. And that's how you can color in neatly and completely. If you did not already know that, now you do. Do the outline and then color in with side-to-side lines that are overlapping each other. It's so much faster and easier to do it that way too. And it looks better. It's faster, it's easier, and it looks better. Okay, so now I'm going to fast forward into super duper duper fast forward mode because I'm just coloring in a pattern at this point. And I'm just going to fill in all of those blues, and then I'm going to fill the oranges, and then I'm going to be able to see that AB pattern really, really well because this is just an AB pattern, right? It's an AB pattern going around in a radial design, and it's an AB pattern linear as well, going out from the center. So I like to go around. So in between my first color, I am going to color in my second color, just in between those blues. This way also I only need to have one marker at my workstation. I only need one marker in my hand, one marker in my possession at a time, and then the other marker can be used by somebody else. So it's a great way for us to share our supplies in the studio. See how I'm going around the side at the outline and then filling it in. All right, and I'm just going to let you see how I fill in the rest of the pattern here. So in between the blues, I will put orange, and in between the orange, I will put blues. And see, I'm also turning my paper around over and over again. All right, and then I'm finished coloring in, and that's what it looks like.